Good morning and happy Tuesday, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining. So far today, the market is up, which is great to see. The SPY is up like 0.3, 0.4%, which is a nice gain, especially at this time. But I would say the biggest mover today is definitely Draftkings. So they exploded up in pre-market on news that they will no longer be interested, at least right now, in buying Entain. And I know this is, an interesting catalyst. A couple months ago now, they came out, said that they are looking to buy Entain, which is a huge company, and obviously that'd be expensive. And while it does suck that as of at least right now, DraftKings will not be buying Entain. One, they can in the future, and two, it probably wasn't the best time to buy Entain. And the CEO of DraftKings came out and said that basically they don't need to acquire them to continue to grow at the pace they are. So either way, the stock's up, and that's great to see.
Yeah, it's really popping up here in pre-market, looking pretty good. And we're even kind of up through that $50 resistance level. Now, it is kind of popping and just hovering right around there right now. But, I'm really glad to see it go up through there and hit 53. I think that shows a lot of strength. And especially whenever we were at like $45 yesterday, that's a pretty big pop back to the upside. And looking at the daily chart here, I know it was on this bottom blue trend line here, and it actually got a pretty nice bounce off of that right back up. So honestly, right off of the technical too. So it could have been a pretty good technical play, and it was right by support. So in a way, there was lots of different things that made this go up, but obviously the Entain deal is obviously a pretty big deal. I know that was supposed to be getting them into that like European style, like soccer betting and stuff like that. But as of right now, like you said, they're just scrapping the deal, and they're popping off just like we saw with PayPal. And if we go look at PayPal, they had that nice move up yesterday, and hopefully they can get some more momentum today too.
Exactly. So it's definitely a good play with DraftKings, even for the long term. But also we have Facebook popping up. We have Jason saying he likes Facebook, and this one reported earnings after close yesterday, and it was looking pretty awesome. But Tom, what's going on here? It's just slowly fading off.
Yeah, it had that big explosive recovery, and now it's kind of falling back off. And the earnings weren't too good. I know the EPS beat by only like 2 cents. You can see they report a 3.22 EPS versus a 3.19 estimate, so they didn't beat too much there. I know their revenue was just almost right on the estimate. So honestly, I don't think they did too good on earnings, and I think they were just going up based off of just market sentiment overall. And I don't know. I feel like I could honestly see them go lower. I know they've had lots of problems lately with these whistleblowers and different stuff like that. So definitely going to be interesting for Facebook, and especially for Mark Zuckerberg over the next couple months.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to welcome everyone to the stream really quick. So welcome Alex, Trading, Jamie, Vicky, Kumar, Jason, Bill, and thank you guys so much for joining. Let us know what stocks you are watching. We have, with the first comment, we have Jason saying, trying to swing DWACW. So DWACW. So I believe these are the warrants for DWAC. Yep, it looks like it. And, it's holding its ground. Of course, it moves in a very similar way to DWAC, but looks good. It's very volatile. This stock can definitely pop back up, but at the same time, we have seen a lot of setups where, these stocks just slowly fade off for a couple weeks, but it should be interesting either way.
Yeah, and in pre-market today, we kind of popped down to that $23 support, and we are getting a pretty nice bounce off of that. So if you see a nice move up through like $30 or something with DWACW, I think it can make for a pretty good day trade. And, I don't think I would swing this one too much right now. I think I would do more of quick in and out day trades, but I feel like it definitely has some good opportunity throughout the day.
For sure. All right. So we have Augusta saying ASTR is 2 launch windows opened October 27th and November 5th. Successful launch, big move. So I know this is one of those space stocks. Honestly, I don't follow them too much, but I know you do a little bit, Tom. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, if those launch windows, if they are able to actually successfully get the launches through, I think that would be awesome. There's always weather problems. There might be some bad weather, or something like that come out. But if the launches go successfully, they should do well. We've seen SPCE just explode before whenever they had successful launches. So I think ASTR could definitely do the same thing. And they have popped off in the past off of some good news before too. So I think it's definitely has some potential, but it's definitely risky though. Anything can happen. The engine can fail. They can have like any type of mechanical failures. Also, like I said before, weather problems and even just, random problems. So just keep in mind, if the launch doesn't happen, the stock might tank. So going to be pretty risky, but I think it might be worth the risk here to take a small position at it.
All right, so we have George saying good morning, and then OCGN. So OCGN, let's take a look at this one. It is definitely popping up there. It's up 14% on the day. Definitely one to keep on your radar. The volume's definitely increasing. It looks like on the Thinkorswim news tab, it looks like the shares are trading higher in anticipation of a key meeting of the WHO Technical Advisory Group on whether to grant emergency use approval for the COVID-19 vaccine of OCGN's partners. So that's interesting. Obviously, it's pretty big news, and they'll definitely explain why it's up 16%.
Yeah, definitely. That's always big news. I know the WHO is like the World Health Organization, I think, and that would obviously be awesome if they were able to get that emergency authorization. I know that other companies have profited from that earlier this year and during COVID, kind of like Pfizer, Moderna, and companies like that. So maybe we'll see a nice pop out of them if this gets approved.
All right. So then we have Connor asking about Palantir. So this one had a pretty good day yesterday. Right now, it's up like I guess you could say 0.9%. It was up a little bit more at open. I like it, but it's just like it doesn't have a ton of momentum. It's definitely like a longer term play for me. I feel like they have a ton of growth potential over the next couple of years, but at the same time, like it's in one of those phases where it doesn't really move up, it doesn't really move down, and it's just like a bunch of chop, and it's really hard to trade, at least right now in the short term.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good stock. I love how it's starting to break out right here. And overall, I just think it's having some pretty good movement. It's starting to break out, and I feel like we might start to slowly stair step ourselves up towards that $30 resistance again. So I hope to see that over the next few days. And I know we've been talking about it for a long time while it's been consolidating here, and I would just like to finally see a nice breakout move.
All right. And then we have George saying LMT had a huge drop on earnings. So Lockheed Martin, yeah, down 7%, Tom. I didn't even see this until George pointed it out. But yeah, this is a pretty big drop. It basically erased all of its gains from like the past month.
Yeah, they had that huge run up into these earnings, and then the earnings just really made them tank off to the downside. I have not even read too much about it. Looks like their EPS was actually pretty good, but obviously their outlook might not be good. One thing that really worries me, Mike, is that look at this. They were reporting $6 a share a while ago. Now they're reporting $2.21 a share. I don't know what's been changing here, but we'll definitely have to keep your eyes on Lockheed Martin. It's going to be really interesting, and who knows? I know that we just pulled out of Afghanistan and Iraq and all that stuff, and I know that might be a factor for Lockheed over the next couple of years because if we're not at war, I'm not saying that we were like necessarily at war, but without stuff going on the way it was, I feel like Lockheed might take a bit of a hit over the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so then we have AMD also breaking new highs, which is interesting. But the main stocks I want to focus on today, or at least right now, is going to be Draftkings and then Tesla. Both of those stocks have some pretty big news associated with them. We can see Draftkings is still definitely holding its ground. It's up over 5% on the day. So that is good. I feel like it's at a good point for shares, short puts, or leaps with time. But I'm very biased towards this stock. It's one of my favorites, but that's great to see. And then it's definitely taking a little bit of a hit right at open, but it's good to like finally see some green momentum back with this one because it's kind of similar to Palantir right now where it's not that it's like crashing and burning, but at the same time, it's definitely not popping off. There's just like a real lack of momentum.
Yeah, there really is. And I hope that this news can kind of really help it. Like you said, I know that this Entain deal brought a lot of hype into the stock. Like initially, obviously it made it go down, but It was pretty big news. People were talking about it all over the place, and it was a big deal. Like, what was it, Mike? I think you said 22 billion.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like that's not a small deal by any means. Like usually we're seeing deals come out where like Microsoft buys somebody for a couple billion or this or that, but this is pretty big, 22 billion. And I think it should help DraftKings now that they don't have to pay that, obviously. And it looks like it's helping them pretty good in the short term. And I know we just saw that with PayPal, and I'm really hoping to see a nice pop out of DraftKings. Like we had the momentum here in pre-market. I'd love to see another pop off sometime later today or possibly at tomorrow again at open, but I would just love to see another move back up through $50. I think if we could go up above that and then 50 would hold as a good support, that would be amazing for the longer term.
Awesome, awesome. How's good old Tesla doing?
Tesla, I really hope they're up, but yeah, look at that. They got that pop up to 1049. Looks like they broke that all-time high, and then they got a pretty hefty pullback right there. So I would say it has a pretty good shot to keep going up. So far today, it's holding its ground. It had a pretty good run right at open, and I feel like as the day goes on, it could definitely get back up there and possibly break that. I know lots of people have been targeting $1,200 by the end of the week. Not saying that'll happen, but I could definitely see it breaking the high of day today.
Yeah, it's hard to play this one, like it's up 0.5% today, which isn't too much. Looking at some of the options that expired this Friday, they're not down too much as of right now. Like the puts are down, I guess you could say like 5 or 6%, and the call some of the calls are up if they're in the money, but the out of the money calls are definitely taking a bit of a hit, you can say. But I'm kind of surprised that it's holding its ground the way it is. Like after having a 13% up day, like I would have expected like a little bit more. I guess you could say selling pressure either in pre-market or at open.
I would have too. Like in pre-market, I would not have been surprised if Tesla opened up today like around $1,000. Like I was really thinking that might be like a big support, and we might open somewhere around there. But we ended up opening up around 1,020. And I know lots of people in the Discord were looking at puts yesterday right before market close, and I didn't think it was a terrible play. But whenever you have a stock like Tesla that just loves to have multi-day runners, loves momentum, it's so hard to bet against it. And I'm with you. Like I felt like it could have opened up a lot lower, but unfortunately we did not see that. And and then obviously playing puts is going to be pretty tough on Tesla. But like you said, after a 13% day, you would generally expect it to open up at least slightly lower, but it ended up honestly opening right around the closing price.
Exactly. And then another one that's exploding, I feel like, under people's radars is Nvidia. Like, look at the chart on this one. This is up 5.5% on the day, and, it's running like crazy.
Yeah, you're right. This is actually kind of Tesla's really overtaken the news, I think, with a lot of these stocks. And I don't know what's going on with Nvidia here. I think it's just regular movement. I don't think they had any huge news or anything like that come out from what I'm seeing yet. Let's see. I'm checking around. Yeah, I don't see too much, but I love their movement. I think Nvidia is one of the better stocks out there, and I'm so glad to see them breaking all-time highs like this and just having explosive moves. I know yesterday, right before close, or yeah, at market close, it was making new highs. So I'm glad to see it continuing with the momentum. And I love these chip stocks like Nvidia, AMD, MU. Even MU is not my favorite, but I love AMD and Nvidia. Those two are obviously powerhouses, and even AMD is getting a nice pop up today. I wonder if they're at all-time highs, and it actually looks like AMD broke highs too.
Wow. They had an amazing recovery over like the past month or so. So that one is definitely one to keep on your radar. But guys, let us know what stocks you are watching. We will definitely take a look at them. So far today, I'd say you could say Draftkings, Tesla, and Nvidia are the top ones to watch. And then Tom, I saw you looking at Fastly too. That one's definitely holding its ground.
Yeah, I was eyeing it up on that daily chart, and it had those couple days of consolidation. But I'll tell you what, with today's movement, it's about to break out. I'm not sure if it's breaking out yet or not. Let's see if it's breaking that high of like last Wednesday. It looks like we're actually breaking it at this very moment. So we'll have to see how Fastly can go. I know they've been on a huge uptrend lately, and the last time they broke out, they had a pretty explosive day last Tuesday. So hopefully we see that again today. Maybe they just like Tuesdays because once again it's Tuesday and they're getting a pop off. So hopefully they keep going up. Obviously that's not the reason, but I really like the movement either way, and I'm glad to see it breaking out.
There we go. All right, so we have we have Connor saying LCID and Neo today. So Lucid and Neo. Lucid's not doing too bad. They're definitely holding their ground. They had a great day yesterday, and intraday they're not looking too bad. Like they had a decent amount of sellers come in right at open, but besides that, they're definitely holding up pretty well.
Yeah, they really are. And I was actually eyeing this one up pretty hard yesterday. But once again, they had a huge day like Tesla. And I think a lot of people were expecting a bit of a pullback. But like you said, they held their ground pretty well. And if they could break that high of day today around 27.57 or even like right around 27.50, I feel like this one could have a pretty nice move back up. And looking at them on the 1-year daily chart, I really love the way they're starting to hold their ground and come back up. I feel like that they have a good chance anyways to break the $30 resistance over the next couple of weeks. And if they do, I don't know how much they'll explode, but I feel like that'll be a pretty big resistance to break.
There we go. All right, and then Neo, how's that one looking?
I think they look pretty good too. I've been eyeing them up also. Their daily chart looks awesome. Very similar setup to Lucid, where they had a couple days of consolidation. Now they're popping up, and they're also about to break out of a key level from a few days ago. Let me get on the 90-day 15-minute here. I think or let's actually do the 4-hour just so we can see it. But yeah, it's going to be right here, right around $42. So if they could break that, I think it could make for a pretty good move too. And I love Lucid and Neo right now. They're really moving up with Tesla, and I think that the whole EV sector is just really loving the fact that Tesla broke out.
Yeah. Alrighty, and then Jason saying Apple. Let's take a look at that one. AAPL. Yeah, this one's doing pretty well today. AAPL up over 1%, and they're breaking out.
Yeah, they really are. Their daily chart also looks pretty good. And I'm surprised because Apple's actually been underperforming a few stocks. Like we can see like Nvidia at all-time highs. Microsoft has even been making new highs, and Apple's just been slightly underperforming Microsoft. So been pretty interesting, and I'll definitely be eyeing them up over the next couple of weeks. I think that they might get a pop up towards those highs, kind of like Microsoft and these other stocks are doing.
There we go. All right, we have George saying CRWD all-time high. So this one's exploding up, and this one also had a great recovery. I mean, I feel like we've been saying this about a ton of different stocks lately, Tom, whether it's CrowdStrike, Tesla, Nvidia, you could say Apple. I guess you can kind of say Draftkings, but all in all, there's a lot of stocks that are popping back up, and I know just like a couple weeks ago, the market was all over the place and more to the downside than to the upside. But, across the board, we're seeing a lot of buyers come back in, which is a great thing in my opinion. Like, there's still a lot of stocks that have not fully recovered yet. You could say Lucid, DraftKings, RUN, Fastly, Teladoc maybe. So there's still a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah, there really is. Even Zoom, and just looking at everything going forward, I feel like that these stocks have a lot of potential, like you said. And I like how you pointed out how the market started falling like a month ago. We've had this really nice recovery, but during this drop, I mean, I don't know about you, Mike, but it was getting pretty rough. Like we were talking about like potential like treasury defaults, the government shutting down, like inflation going through the roof. Like there was so many different factors that everyone, I think, really thought the market was going to drop. But, like we always see time and time again, whenever you buy those dips, it generally works out. The market loves to go up in the longer term, and statistically it goes up more than it goes down. Obviously, in the longer term, the market has pretty much just went straight up for the long term. Like if we go look at the max weekly chart of the SPY, like of course, whenever you have something like COVID, you get a big drop down. But and obviously like in '08, you get a big drop down. But honestly, it's just been going pretty straight up, and this recovery has been crazy, Mike. I honestly can't believe that we're saying that the SPY is like more than doubled since COVID happened. Like that's honestly crazy to say, and I'm glad to see all-time highs though. It just shows that buying the dip works a lot of the time, and I'm glad to see these stocks continuing to go, like Nvidia, Tesla, and these are all big name tech stocks that are going to be pretty good in the future, I think too. So I like it, and I'm just glad to see the powerhouses really moving the market.
There we go. So very well said, Tom. I would say the biggest takeaway from everything Tom said is basically buying the dip on high quality stocks is a winning strategy. Of course, sometimes they take a beating, but generally speaking, if whenever you see good stocks that are I guess you can say dipping down, it'll probably be a good idea to at least enter like light, like if you don't want to have a full position, because generally they come back up. And over the past 2 years especially, one thing that I learned is it's really hard to bet against the market. You can see news about a potential default, news about government shutdown, or whatever news basically. And like a lot of times the market, it might get worried for a couple weeks, but a lot of times it just pops right back up. And of course, not always. Like, of course, like we saw with COVID in March of 2020, that was a brutal drop. And again, that was like world-changing news. But all in all, buy the dips when you see good deals. So definitely keep that in mind. We have Peter saying Tesla $1,100 today, easy. Let's take a look at it. So it's at 1057 now. It's running up. It's breaking out. There's literally no resistance right now. Now it's at 1058. We're getting really close.
Yeah, yesterday we had an explosive move up, and we only need like 40 more points to get up to that to get up to 1,000. So hopefully we see that happen over the next hour or two. I think it definitely has potential to, and I'm really curious to see how much Tesla's going to run here over the next couple of minutes. This is getting to be a pretty crazy run. And, I know people are definitely going to be hyping this one up in the Discord and everything. Definitely let us know, guys, in the chat, if you guys are playing Tesla today. Very interested to know. And if you guys got in the quick momentum play and already cashed out, let me know that too. I think it'd be awesome to hear. And I always love seeing Tesla move, and I love seeing all the profits in the Discord and everything. It's always a fun thing to see.
You know it. All right, and then with the next comment, we have Sal saying, "Good morning, Mike and Tom. I still have VIX shares, losing money on that. Should I just dump it?" Well, it depends on like what you're hedging. Like VXX is not meant to be held for extended periods of time. It literally it's made to decay. So you definitely do not want to hold this for extended periods of time. But for example, like if you have, I don't know, $20,000 in like SPY calls or SPY shares or whatever, and you are buying the VIX as a hedge, then you don't want to get rid of your hedge. So long story short, there's a lot of variables that come into play that I don't know. So I don't know your risk tolerance. I don't know what else you're holding. So there's a lot of variables, but generally speaking, it would be best to get rid of that, to get rid of VIX, and only trade it for like short-term hedges, because it's literally made to fall.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of like hedge funds and stuff out there that play that movement to the downside too. So just keep that in mind, that a lot of people are betting on this one to decay. So it's just also keep that in mind. It's very hard to short because of that. If you try to short this right now, like on TD Ameritrade, the chances of getting shares are pretty low because everybody shorts it. So It's a pretty weird scenario how it decays like that, but definitely don't hold it for the long term. Like Mike said, if you don't have too many other positions, it's definitely going to be tough. And, I got bitten by VXX whenever I was a new trader. So, just be really careful with it. It can definitely get you if you're not careful.
All right. We have trading saying you guys need to take a look at BKKT. Huge potential. I just had huge news with Visa or MasterCard on crypto payments. So looking at this one, BKKT, I know we talked about it a little bit in yesterday's video. These SPAC deals, they always go crazy for, a couple days and normally end up fading off. But I will say the news is pretty good. I believe it was MasterCard and this company working on a crypto deal. Yeah, MasterCard partners with BKKT to bring cryptocurrency payments to the masses. So it's definitely great news. And it's running up with a lot of hype. It's just, these SPACs usually go crazy. So, it went from 10 to 60 in a day. So, you just got to be careful with that. But there's normally a lot of opportunity for, momentum plays with this one.
Yeah, like if you see it start to pop off right here and it breaks this high of day, like around 35.50, and you see a nice move up, it could make for a quick in and out day trade. Like Mike said, the momentum, whenever these stocks run, they generally like to run quite a bit. And we can see DWAC is kind of coming down right now, but this was a SPAC deal too. So you can kind of see how it moves. And, a lot of people are betting on this one to go up, and we can see it's actually breaking the $80 support to the downside right now. So be really careful. Obviously, I know that they're two totally different companies, but DWAC is even dipping down now. So I feel like BKKT could possibly continue to fall. So just be really careful. These SPAC deals are always all over the place.
All right. And then we have, let's see, Connor asking about Baba. So I saw this one was definitely selling off a little bit today. We could see Baba's down nearly 2%, which kind of sucks to see. But, like we talked about in yesterday's stream, when you have a huge recovery, like, you kind of got to expect this. But still, it does kind of suck to see this, I guess you could say, downwards movement.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're like breaking some pretty big supports too, like the 176 support and the 174 support. Just not looking good in the short term. But I feel like looking at the daily chart though, like to be honest, like I'll just be totally honest here. I don't think that it's fallen down too much. Like we're down from 180 down to 172, but just a couple weeks ago we were at $140. So I don't know. I feel like it could possibly fall down a little bit more, maybe towards like the 166 to maybe like 170 resistance area or support. I feel like that might be a pretty good level over the next couple of days, but I feel like that it's just barely pulled back here. Like it honestly, like based on the movement right now, this is not too big of a move.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like you said, they went from 140 to over 180 in what, 2 or 3 weeks. So it's just like a part of trading, I guess you can say, having these pullbacks. But yeah, I agree with you, Tom. And then we have Jason saying, Sal, I had UVXY for like 2 months, eventually gave up and took the loss. And then Sal said thanks. So yeah, so with VXX and UVXY, they're good for short-term plays, but you're probably gonna lose. Like that's the thing to keep in mind. Like let's say you play VIX 10 times, realistically speaking, you will probably lose like 7 or 8 times. It just depends on how you play it. But a lot of times VIX is meant to hedge. So like if you don't like own any shares or any long positions at all, like you don't want to hedge with the VIX because you're not even hedging anything. So it just depends on how you play it, and there's a lot of strategy involved. But generally speaking, you definitely don't want to hold VXX or UVXY for any long-term period.
Yeah, and you can see over the past 180 days, UVXY has just slowly been falling down ever since $108 a share. I'll even do the same thing with VXX. They were up around 69 and then they just slowly fade off. They might have those big dips like they did on like May 10th, or like right around there, where you move from 36 up to $50 within 2 or 3 trading days, but then it just decays right back down. So like Mike said, be really careful with them. And it's definitely not meant to hold for the long term. So like how you had it for those couple months, what I would almost suggest doing is there's lots of other stuff out there like SPXS, SPXL and stuff like that. I wouldn't hold this for a couple of months either, but I feel like in the short term, sometimes SPXS and SPXL can be almost better hedges than like VXX and the VIX can.
Yeah, it just depends. Like there's so many variables. It's hard to say one's better than the other because, every single downturn is unique. Like, like there's so many variables to argue that. But I mean, either way, they're both good options, whether you're hedging with SPXS or VXX or, whatever. They all have their pros and cons. But good stuff overall and great question, Sal. Tom, GE, this one is popping off today. Looks like they just reported earnings. And, a 5% move for a stock like GE is pretty big.
Yeah, this is actually big. Look at how significant this looks actually on this 180-day 4-hour chart. It's actually holding that $100 support very well. And I would not be surprised if we started to break out pretty soon. We're up to 110 right now. There's some pretty big resistance up here around 115 to 116. So definitely eye that up over the next few days. I got to see this one on the max daily chart because, man, I know General Electric had a big hit a couple years ago. Actually right around like whenever I graduated high school. Yeah, you can see they had this huge downturn and then they had a lot of fundamental problems for a couple of years, obviously. And I'm really glad to see them recovering back. I think that this one could be a pretty good longer term play even. I feel like that the recovery looks pretty good and that $100 support is actually holding up pretty strong. I feel like this one's pretty good, Mike.
Yeah, there we go. It's definitely like riskier than I would say like, Apple or something like that, obviously. But then at the same time, you can probably get like a higher potential reward with this one over what, like the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I would think you could for sure because they had a big drop like from 200 a share all the way down to like 50. And if we get a little bit of recovery, even up to like 150 or like 175, yeah, that would make for I would think a lot bigger gains than Apple. I mean, who knows? Maybe Apple will come out with the iCar and double by then, though. Like they're pretty big players.
True, true. Yeah, so like GE, it's not my favorite play in the world. Like I think it's decent, but I'll definitely have it on my radar though. But like you said, Tom, like Apple is just constantly adapting. It's hard to beat them out, and I think that's one of the many reasons we're seeing their stock move the way it is. So it's great to see. Connor said Neo is running. So looking at NIO, it's up 2% today. It's definitely holding its ground. It's not looking too bad, and it's having a pretty good recovery.
Yeah, I love the way it broke out today. I think it's moving pretty well, and I love the recovery on Neo. I've been really eyeing them up. I think that daily chart looks pretty good the way they consolidated for a few days and just the way they turned back up. It was just a pretty bullish setup. I know people look at candlestick patterns a lot, and it was just a pretty bullish pattern. It was almost like we had a little bit of a bull flag right there. So I really liked it.
There we go. Tom, can you hear me? Looks like we might be having some audio problems. Tom, let me know if you could hear me. Right, sorry about this, guys. It looks like we were having hopefully a quick internet problem. Let me get in contact with Tom really quickly. Let's see. All right, so we are fixing that right now, guys. Sorry for that. The stream is still live. Give us 1 or 2 minutes. Tom should be reconnecting any minute. Alrighty. Alright, so it looks like we lost Tom. I'm just going to share my screen. We're trying to get him reconnected. Let's see. Alright, Tom is back. Perfect.
Yep, I'm back. Here we go. And I was just talking about Neo there. I think my internet cut out. Sorry, guys. We've had actually a lot of really bad storms where I live. There's actually been like 3 tornadoes within the past couple days. So it's been a little crazy. None have hit my house, though, thank God. But either way, Neo's looking pretty good. And I love the way they're breaking out here. I was just talking about on the daily chart. I think they're in a really good bullish flag setup. And I love the way they're looking.
All right, Tom's poor internet. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's been brutal where Tom lives, more like St. Louis area. I know the weather's been pretty bad there, so it looks
way they're breaking out.
All right, yeah. All right, Tom, can you hear me?
Yep, I am back. I actually can hear you the whole time. You just can't hear me for some reason.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it's like it's doing one of those weird things where it like lags for like whatever, like 10 or 20 seconds, but hopefully it's fixed. So yeah, anyways, Neo, not looking too bad. It has some good momentum. So yeah, definitely keep that one on your radar. We have Robin saying, where do you stand on a long-term position in Unity? So ticker symbol U. The chart on this one isn't bad. Like it's just over like the past year, like it hasn't moved too much. It's definitely up from its IPO price, which is great to see. I feel like the sector they are in has a lot of potential for growth, but I have not specifically looked at the fundamentals of Unity. So I definitely like the sector that they're in, but I just had to do a little bit more research, to see everything about Unity.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that they're pretty big. They make a lot of like video games and stuff like that. And they make the Unreal Engine, which is a pretty big engine for like development, whether it be video games or movies or like cartoon shows, like whatever you have that's animated. Generally, Unity is pretty good there. I feel like for the longer term, they'll be pretty good, but they are getting a little high here on the daily chart, and they are getting into a lot of these like resistance areas. So I feel like it could end up consolidating for a while, but lately we've been seeing lots of stocks move up to new highs. So who knows? Unity might be one of those stocks. And I know they have some pretty big games that they've been a part of, like a lot of them, like the Unreal Engine. I feel like a lot of games are made with those.
Gotcha. So George said Unity does not make the Unreal Engine, Tom. They're competitors.
Do they? Because I've just been looking it up, and I know that they're, at least if they're not.
It looks like the developers of Unreal Engine is Epic Games.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I know though that either way, it's a really big platform for making video games and stuff. I know that it's been a a pretty big thing ever since like 2005. They've been on a ton of games. Maybe I've seen some where like the games have been like maybe talked about together like that. So that's probably what I'm coming at. But I know that lots of Unity games, like they even make those like balloon tower defense games and stuff like that. So it should be pretty good, I think.
Gotcha. So thank you, George, for sharing that info. We have Johnny saying, "Hey, Mike and Tom, thoughts on Peloton for short-term options plays?" So looking at Peloton, we could see today it is down like 2%. It's okay. Like I feel like it's not. I don't know. I just feel like it's not great. Plus earnings coming up. It's not a play for me. I feel like there are so many other better plays out there. You could say Nvidia, Draftkings, AMD, Apple. Like the list goes on and on and on. So I just feel like Peloton's not the best.
Yeah, me either. It's not good right now. And unfortunately, I like it off that $80 support. And I feel like for the long term, shares might be pretty good. But other than just averaging into shares, I don't think I'd play it either. Unfortunately, they had a bunch of weird stuff where I know they had that weird stuff a while ago, Mike, where people were like getting hurt on their stuff even and all that. So just not good in the short term. And we can see that on their last earnings report, they had a pretty big dip to the downside and they had a pretty bad earnings there. So hopefully they don't have another bad one.
For sure. Yeah, I know that their treadmill problem was definitely not the best, to say the least. So yeah. I mean, it seems like, like they've definitely grown a lot. I feel like with Peloton specifically, there's no momentum, like they're not bad, like at least Zoom is starting to creep up there a little bit, but it's just like they need something to like light the fire, like we saw with Tesla. Like for a couple months Tesla didn't do anything, and then all it took was a week or two, and then they're exploding past all-time highs. So we just need like a catalyst, whether it be earnings or some news or anything, just to get the momentum back.
Yeah, definitely. It just needs something big to happen. And who knows, maybe these earnings will do pretty well. And one thing that I'm also keeping in mind is that during this winter, I feel like the summer months might not be as good for Peloton because obviously people are going to be going outside a lot more. Obviously the weather's better, even in places where it's cold, like Chicago and, places like that. It gets pretty hot in the summertime. So I think that the winter might be better for them because obviously people are going to be inside, maybe buying more of their products. So maybe that'll be a good boost, and hopefully their outlook is pretty good.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see. All right, so we have Vicky saying, "Long on you, great company." Robin said, "Thanks for your input." Cool, thanks. So yeah, it looks like we covered most of the top movers today. We have Draftkings creeping up there, Tom. I don't know if you saw that one, but it's slowly creeping up there. It is now up 7.5% on the day, which is amazing to see. I've been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah, I bet you're really happy to see this one.
Exactly.
I'm glad they're up through $50, and what a good move this morning. I'm glad to see him coming back. I know that they had that dip down at open. It was worrying me a little bit, but I'm really glad to see him bounce back. Hopefully $50 poses as a good support now that we're up through it. I really hope it does. And I'm not saying I'm glad that they got rid of the Entain deal, but in the end, it definitely helped their stock today. So I'm happy for that. And Mike, I know that it's kind of funny, but I know me and you were actually talking about this in private yesterday. We were talking about how PayPal scrapped the deal with who was their deal with again? Pinterest, that's right. They scrapped their deal with Pinterest, and then we were actually talking about it, just joking around, like, hey, maybe Draftkings will drop their deal with Entain. And I wake up this morning and see the news, and I was like, man, Mike, I can't believe that actually happened.
Exactly. So it's good for the stock. I don't really like I'm not like super strong like on either side. Like, of course, if they did buy Entain, it would have been good because they're just buying up like a huge competitor, and it gives them a lot of exposure to the UK. But at the same time, they're paying a pretty good price for that deal. I believe they were offering $22 billion, and at the same time, MGM was offering $11 billion. Just like a couple months ago or like a year ago or something like that. So, there's definitely some give and take with it, but the market definitely likes it, which is great to see because my poor Draftkings has been just not really doing anything for the past couple months now, and they were on such a great uptrend back in like August and September, and I'm looking to see another one of those.
Yeah, as soon as this deal hit, it just sent these huge red days. Like DraftKings was having those big like down 5%, down 4%, like multiple days in a row. And it just was not good whenever that happened. And I'm really glad to see it coming back. And I feel like it will come back pretty well, even though that the deal didn't go through. And one thing I'm kind of curious about is with that Entain deal, I'm curious how long it would take them to make their money back. Like I wonder how much money Entain like profits per year to where like, if DraftKings bought them, like how many years would it take for them to get that return on that $20 billion? I don't know. I feel like with the way sports betting has been lately, it might not take too long.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Entain is a publicly traded company, so it should be relatively easy to figure that out. But it's definitely a great information overall. And then, Tom, we can't forget about a potential deal with ESPN. I know DraftKings and Caesars were both potential candidates for that deal with Disney, which owns ESPN. But speaking of Disney, that one has been consolidating as well, and I feel like this one has a ton of potential to pop.
Me too. It's actually been right on that 170 support. And if some big news comes out with them, I mean, that's all that Disney needs to go up is some good Disney Plus numbers, something to happen with ESPN or, something like that. That would be amazing for them. I feel like for the long term, Disney's at a great level to buy here at this $170 area, especially to average in for shares for the long term. It might always, dip down and fall below this support and, maybe start filling these gaps on the daily chart, but I don't think so. I think it might hold up. So I would say averaging in here is great. And I love this support. We've bounced off of it a lot in the past. And once again, we're getting some nice movement to the upside off of this again. And it's just a really good technical to look at. So if you guys don't have it, I would definitely throw 170 on your chart as a good support.
Love to see it. Fastly's definitely creeping up there. I don't know if you saw that one, but it's definitely looking pretty good. Fastly's looking good. It looks like MRK is definitely holding its ground. What is that? I'm just looking across my watch list right now. The cruise lines are holding their ground pretty well. I mean, that's the main stocks as of right now. How's like gold and silver doing?
Let's check it out. GLD actually pulling back a little bit, which is a little bit surprising. I was kind of looking for a nice move up, but the overall market's kind of making new highs. And sometimes the silver and gold markets, they're almost inverse to the overall market. So hopefully we see a nice move with gold and silver over the next couple of months, I guess. Right now, I'm seeing gold, honestly, is in a pretty like long-term, you could say like triangle / like wedge play here. I feel like it's just been really consolidating and we're having lots of problems breaking 170 to the upside with GLD. But at the same time, there's a really big support at 160. So I feel like if we could get a nice break one way or the other, it would be great.
There we go. Love to see that. And let's check out Palantir intraday really quickly. They're definitely holding their ground, and I know that they had a little bit of selling pressure right at open, but the buyers scooped it right up.
Man, this one's coming back pretty quickly, actually. I was not expecting to see this one coming back like this, and it looks like within the next few minutes, we might be at new highs again, or at least new highs over the past few days. And I'll definitely be eyeing this one to go up to that 2830 resistance. I feel like that'll be a pretty good level. And I really like Palantir over the past couple of days, especially on the daily chart. They've just been consolidating for what seems like a couple months now. And to be honest, it kind of looks like what they looked like whenever they were consolidating back in July and August. And they finally got that pop up to 30. And I feel like it's kind of doing that same thing now, just really slow and steady movement. And we're not really seeing that type of hype come in. I'd love to see the hype, but at the same time, if it just goes up slow and steady, I'd be happy enough with that as long as it goes up though.
Exactly. All right, we have Jason saying DWACW is struggling as well. So yeah, just DWACW definitely taking a hit along with DWAC. It's like a tongue twister saying these ones.
It is.
But yeah, looking at them, they basically move the same. It's down like 14% so far. It's just hard to continue to explode when you went from $10 up to $175 in 2 days. Like, that is crazy. 10 to 175. Like, that is a huge move. It's selling off right now. Honestly, I'm just expecting some consolidation out of this one. I'm not expecting it to pop off, but at the same time, I'm not expecting it to like tank back down to $10 or anything like that. I feel like it is in a very unique position where, with a lot of the SPAC deals that we saw over the past year, unfortunately, a lot of them were way, how do I say this, like way like overhyped, and I don't want to call them scams, but they just were not good deals. And whether you like this SPAC stock or not, I feel like it is unique in the sense that, Trump, who I believe is running again in what, 3 years or so, I feel like this puts this stock in a unique position.
Yeah, it really does. And as of right now, he's running, so that might make the stock do pretty good over the long term. Like if this social media platform comes out, and who knows, I've personally like been seeing stuff all over Facebook, this is not my thoughts. Keep in mind, this is just what people have been saying. A lot of people are saying like, I'm quitting Facebook and going to the new one. I'm quitting Twitter, going to the new platform. And I feel like lots of people might do that, no matter how you feel about it politically. In the end, I feel like lots of people are going to get on board with it if it does end up coming out. And I feel like it could be pretty good. But for right now, personally, I'm not putting my money into it yet. I think I'm just going to wait a little bit more, a little longer, and see what ends up happening, because who knows, something could happen with Trump and he doesn't even run. And then this platform just gets thrown out the window. You never know. There's always a weird risk factor whenever you're talking about something like with politics and stuff like that. And, just keep in mind, guys, I'm not trying to take any sides here with anything. Just, it's all about the money here.
You see, my problem is that, like, we don't even have like an official platform yet. Like,
yeah, it's not even out really, is it?
I mean, not really. I mean, if you go to their website, like, you can like sign up for like the wait list, but like, it's just hard for me to like invest into something where it's like it's not even done, So
yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
I'm just with you. I'm gonna wait, and at the same time, when you go from 10 to 175, it's just hard to buy, and then especially when there's no platform. And at the same time, you could probably argue, well, the valuation is so small relative to, let's say, a Facebook or a Twitter or a Snapchat, where if the platform does take off, this can explode in valuation. So I do see both sides. I just feel like it's really important to understand what you're getting into, right? Whether you like Trump, you don't like Trump, whether you think the company's going to succeed or fail, it's important to just look at like the facts, like the company, or like the platform, it's not started yet, and at the same time, it can grow a lot, but it's just important to understand that there probably will be a lot of volatility that comes along with it. So either way, this stock had an amazing performance since it released. It went from 10 to 175, and even though it's tanking now, like, it's still at $75. So it's definitely up big time.
Yeah, it's still up a lot. And, one thing that I've been worried about with it, Mike, is if this platform comes out and let's say it's kind of like a Twitter or like a Facebook or something, I'm honestly thinking in my head, like lawsuits. I'm thinking like if I'm Facebook right now, man, I'd be lawyering up. I'd be getting lawyers right now, left and right, to just try to see what I could do anyways, because in the end, like they might not be able to sue them for a ton of money or anything, but in the end, they might be able to get something. So I feel like that there will probably be some type of lawsuit or something come out. But we'll just have to see. Obviously, that's all just speculation. And like Mike said, just make sure you know what you're getting into either way.
For sure. All right, we have George saying Donkey Horse is popping. So I haven't looked at this one in a while, but it's looking pretty good actually at $7.
That's so funny. Sean put in the Discord yesterday that it was the end of an era for Donkey Horse, but I guess since it came back up today, he's back in it again, huh?
There we go. So I mean, this one has been struggling a lot. I mean, it's finally good to see some green on this one. Like, it was also almost reminding me about Draftkings.
It kind of does, actually. It's been consolidating a lot, and I'm really glad to see it move. It had that nice move yesterday, kind of like with Tesla and Lucid Motors, and I'm so glad to see it pop. I've honestly been thinking in my head over the past couple of days. I've been sitting here watching Tesla make new highs, and NIO's flying up. And I've been like, man, this workhorse has really been underperforming. But hey, I'm glad to see it proving me wrong today. And I'm glad to see it go up finally. You know, it took a couple days, but I'm glad to see the explosion come in.
There we go. So, Tom, with all of the stocks going crazy today, what are some of your favorites heading into, I guess you can say, the rest of the day?
You know, I know that I'm probably stealing your favorite one, Mike, but I'm definitely going to have to pick DraftKings today. I like a lot of other stocks that are moving up today, like Lucid, Blink, AMD. But I think Fastly is pretty good too. But I think my favorite one is DraftKings. They're moving off this 50 support. They got rid of that Entain deal, which has been making their stock go crazy over the past couple of weeks. And I really like the movement here. I think it looks pretty good. Like I said, though, I also really like Fastly. They're actually kind of breaking out right now, and they just look like a pretty good setup on the daily chart. Even the explosion is getting pretty significant.
You know it. And then one of my favorites is actually Chewy, CHWY. It's only up 2% today, but I feel like the chart looks pretty awesome, like especially for like a longer term play. So feel free to keep that one on your radar. And thank you guys so much for joining us today on our stream. We had a great time, and we hope you have an amazing rest of your day.